Hello students, a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to my channel. This is a very important class on modern novelists and today we will talk about Virginia Woolf second part. But before starting, I want to give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Brishti Mukherjee. I have qualified NTA UGC NET exam in English literature 4 times and have also qualified West Bengal SET examination. I have 2 years of teaching experience. Moreover, I have also taught in NPTEL online course from IIT Madras 3 times. So that is all about myself. Good evening, Shupriyo. Good evening, Vishal. Welcome. So those of you who are watching this video, please like and share so that many more new learners can join. And this is the link of my Telegram channel. So those of you who have not joined yet, please join to get notification of all important classes. And also please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that many more new learners can join. Good evening, Neha. Good evening, Papdi. Good evening, Cherry. Welcome. And these are the timings of the classes Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m. Saturday, Sunday off. So don't forget to join me live. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get notifications. Okay, so let's start. Today our topic is Virginia Woolf second part. In last week we have started discussing Virginia Woolf and we have discussed some important early novels written by her. So today we will discuss the remaining novels. Okay, so let's start. Now, the first novel which we are going to discuss, that is To the Lighthouse, published in 1927. In the previous class, we have discussed Mrs. Dalloway. And in today's class, we will talk about To the Lighthouse, published in 1927. This is also a very important novel. Now, let's discuss the plot. To the Lighthouse is actually Woolf's finest stream of consciousness novel. In the previous class, I have explained what is stream of consciousness novel. You all know. And this is a very famous genre of modern age, specifically modern novels, which James Joyce also applied. And this novel to Mrs. Dalloway also has some kind of stream of consciousness element. And this novel is considered the finest stream of consciousness novel written by Virginia Woolf. And this novel was greatly inspired by Marcel Proust and James Joyce. Okay, so it's a philosophical novel and ये चीज बहुत बार एग्जाम में आया है. It is divided into 3 parts. The 3 parts have been given 3 different titles. The Window, Time Passes and To the Lighthouse. The Window, Time Passes and To the Lighthouse. The whole novel is divided into 3 parts. Now we will discuss the summaries in detail. Yes, flow of thoughts, right. Flow of thoughts and वो भी irregular in that sense. तो चलो start करते हैं. First part, the window. Window में क्या है? The novel opens just before the First World War. That is the setting before the First World War, and it talks about the story of Ramsay family. So Mr. and Mrs. Ramsay, they came to Hebrides with their 8 children to spend summer vacation. Okay, to spend summer vacation, they came to Hebrides with their 8 children. Now, their son, 6-year-old son James, who is very eager to visit the lighthouse. So basically, they are living in that particular place beside sea, and उसके दूसरे साइड में एक लाइट हाउस थे. तो लाइट हाउस क्या है आप सब जानते हो. दिस इज अ स्पेसिफिक स्ट्रक्चर. एक टावर लाइक स्ट्रक्चर होता है, ठीक है. एंड लाइट हाउस वाज used to give direction to those ships who have lost in storm or maybe at night. ठीक है, तो वो दूसरे रास्ते में दूसरे साइड में चले ना जाए, इसलिए उनको लाइट दिखाकर बताया जाता था कि यही सही रूट है. दैट इज द ड्यूटी ऑफ द लाइट हाउस एंड द लाइट वॉचमैन. ठीक है. सो लाइट हाउस, यू हैव गॉट द रेफरेंस ऑफ लाइट हाउस इन द मीथ ऑफ हीरो एंड लिएंडर. Right, so their son, 6-year-old James, is very eager to visit the lighthouse. Mrs. Ramsay permits. Mrs. Ramsay says that if the weather is fine, then we will definitely visit the lighthouse. But Mr. Ramsay refuses, and James develops a kind of distraction, or you may say dissatisfaction towards his father due to that reason. Yes, Scottish Island. Good evening, Suman. Welcome. Now, Ramsay family has a number of guests. Okay, so this thing has been asked several times in NET exam, that Lily Briscoe is a character in which novel of Virginia Woolf? So she is a character in To the Lighthouse. So she is a painter actually who begins a portrait of Mrs. Ramsay. मिसेस रैमसे का पेंटिंग वो ड्रॉ कर रहे थे. Now Mrs. Ramsay wants Lily to marry William Bankes, but Lily decides to remain single. Okay, now she means Lily plans to organize, not Lily, Mrs. Ramsay plans to organize a marriage between Paul and Minta. Another two characters, Paul and Minta. Now, Mr. Ramsay, his character is very interesting as it's a deeply psychological and philosophical novel. So, Mr. Ramsay is a troubled philosopher who needs his wife's comfort always. He is very insecure person, insecure within. Okay, insecure within. So, very troubled philosopher. Now, they arrange a dinner party which proves disastrous. That dinner party proves disastrous. Ramsay behaves rudely with everyone, and it results into a lot of breaking of relationships and all these things. So, that is the first part, the window. In the second part, time passes. It actually talks about the passing of time very quickly. So next section talks about the time during the First World War, before First World War and during First World War. Now the time passes 10 years. 10 साल बाद की कहानी बताया जा रहे हैं. That is why time passes. So after 10 years, Mrs. Ramsay dies. Her oldest son Andrew is killed in the battle. As First World War always First World War brought disastrous things in everyone's life. So Andrew is killed in the battle, and her daughter, her means Mrs. Ramsay, her daughter Prue dies during childbirth. So a number of tragedies are happening at that time, and basically the house, the Hebrides house where they often came to spend summer vacation, that house is now in dilapidated condition. Nobody comes there, and Woolf has described the house very beautifully that different जगहों में weeds develop कर रहे हैं. जैसे होता है एक abandoned house में, वैसे ही इसका structure हो गया है. Now Mrs. McNabb, the housekeeper, employs some others to take care of the house. McNabb believes that the house needs to be kept in good condition, so he employs the other characters. She employs the other characters to take care of the house. Now, time is presented as a character here. In this particular novel or this particular part, maybe time passes, time is a character. Now, in the last section, To the Lighthouse, Lily Briscoe unexpectedly returns in that particular building, dilapidated house, to complete her painting. वो किसका image paint कर रहे थे? Mrs. Ramsay. Mrs. Ramsay dies, but Lily returns to complete her painting. Mr. Ramsay and his daughter decide to visit the lighthouse, and finally James has become a sailor. ठीक है? Yes, like North Star lighthouse shows way to those lose their way in sea. Good evening, Shushmita. Good evening, Rajkishore. Welcome. So James has now become a sailor, and basically this novel is trying to say that art is the only hope in this world, because at the end everything is destroyed, everything is in bad condition, but still Lily Briscoe hopes to finish the painting. So Lily Briscoe, she is always engaged in art as a painter. She loves art, and Virginia Woolf believes that art is the only hope in this world. This world means the devastated world after the First World War. And this is a very important speech given by Lily. तो ये एग्जाम में आ सकता है, याद रखना. Nothing stays, all changes, but not words, not paint. So the same line which we have read in so many sonnets by Spenser and Shakespeare, that ars longa vita brevis, life is short but art is long. Lily is also saying the same thing, that everything is changeable, everything is transient in this world. Nothing stays permanently, but only words stay, only pain stay. ठीक है. So words and paint means paintings, the sculpture, both of these are form of art. Words can create literature and painting can or brushstroke can create beautiful painting. So Lily as a painter think that both are pieces of art. So words are very powerful, they can never be changed, they can inspire people ages after ages, and also a good painting can also become a classic. ओके नाउ अब यहाँ का लाइट हाउस का सिंबल क्या है? टू द लाइट हाउस हैज अ सिंबल. बेसिकली लाइट हाउस इज अ सिंबल ऑफ ह्यूमन डिजायर, okay, which remains intact season after season. So lighthouse doesn't change, but the whole family of Mr. and Mrs. Ramsay and their children, they have faced a lot of tragedy, but after 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, when Lily Briscoe returns after so many times, she can see the lighthouse in the same position. So lighthouse doesn't change. Lighthouse is a symbol of human desire. So human beings change, obviously. We are not permanent in this world, but that particular source of desire, that particular force can remain same, and that is a very important force, life force you may say, that encourages people to cross the sea but still remains unattainable. तो लाइट हाउस बिगिनिंग में हमने क्या देखा कि यहाँ पर सी है, यहाँ पर है हेब्रिडिस एंड इस साइड में है लाइट हाउस, राइट? सो यू हैव टू क्रॉस द सी to reach the lighthouse. Right now, that particular journey, Virginia Woolf is trying to say that the crossing of sea is actually the crossing of all the obstacles and problems in life to get that particular thing or to reach your goal, to achieve something. So lighthouse is a symbol of your success maybe, or it is a symbol of human desire. We all have a lot of desires in our mind, but we can't achieve all these in our life. That is also true. So lighthouse is that particular force. Lighthouse is that desire which encourages all human beings to cross the sea of difficulty, but still remains unattainable. ठीक है, तो डिजायर मतलब आपके अंदर एक कुछ पाने का या फिर कुछ करने का, जो हम कहते हैं जिल, वो होना जरूरी है, राइट? वी ऑल हैव आवर एम्स इन लाइफ, वी ऑल हैव a kind of inside force which can guide us, which can motivate us to do something. ठीक है, तो अंदर से कुछ होता है ना कि अंदर से आपको कोई पुश कर रहे हैं कि हाँ आप इधर जाओ. We always feel that someone is pushing me inside that yes, if you are going into road A, that will be true. That is our conscience which are forcing us to do something, which which is always trying to show us right path. So lighthouse is that symbol. Lighthouse is our goal. And we are crossing the sea of difficulty to reach the goal. But oftentimes we fail. That remains unattainable. Okay, so that is what Virginia Woolf is trying to say. Yes, absolutely. Good evening, Kriti. Welcome. Paper 1 next week से sorry, इसी week से राजकिशोर, ठीक है? इसी week से paper 1 हम start कर रहे हैं. Don't worry. So that is about To the Lighthouse. Now we're moving on to our next novel, that is Orlando, a Biography, published in 1928. Now this Orlando has no connection with as the Orlando in As You Like It. Okay, he is a different man and this Orlando is a different one. So this is a very controversial novel also. Subtitle yaad rakhna, A Biography, published in 1928. Now, what about this novel Orlando? Actually, Orlando is controversial because it talks about Woolf's private relationship with Vita Sackville West. Woolf had a romantic relationship with Vita Sackville West, and that particular relationship is partly reflected in this particular novel. So, एक semi-autobiographical touch यहाँ पर है, आप कह सकते हो. Now, this novel was originally titled as Orlando and subtitle था Vita, लेकिन बाद में इस टाइटल को चेंज करके a biography दे दिया गया था, ठीक है? Partly based on Vita's life. It was first published by Hogarth Press. Remember that, the press which Virginia Woolf and Leonard Woolf established. We have discussed in our earlier class. So first published by Hogarth Press. Now, what is the plot of this novel? Orlando, who is obviously the main character, he is a young nobleman. Good evening, Nazreen. Welcome. Orlando is a young nobleman, and Orlando ये बहुत ही एक different type का setting है. It is set in Elizabethan time. Virginia Woolf is writing during modern age, but this novel is set in Elizabethan time. So Orlando serves as a page. Page मैंने आपको बताया था, page means servant. Orlando serves as a servant in Elizabethan court and becomes a favorite of Queen Elizabeth I. ठीक है? Now later he falls in love with Shasha, a princess, Russian princess. But she suddenly leaves for Russia. ठीक है, she leaves for Russia, betraying Orlando or leaving Orlando behind. Now Orlando, basically he is a young poet, so Orlando starts writing, and he wrote this particular play, Ethelbert, a tragedy in 5 acts. So this kind of minor questions may be asked, that which play did Orlando write in Virginia Woolf's novel? So that is Ethelbert, a tragedy in 5 acts. And during restoration बहुत पहले का टाइम बताया जा रहा है. During restoration he writes a poem, The Oak Tree. It's a poem. Okay, he writes this poem, The Oak Tree, and later he meets another character, Nicholas Green, who always tries to find faults in his writing. He is a very bad critic, ठीक है, who always tries to find fault in his writings. Yes, attendant, right. Now later he is appointed as an ambassador to Constantinople by King Charles II. Restoration का time है, आप समझ रहे हो. So during restoration he was appointed as an ambassador to Constantinople. Now there a very interesting thing happens. When he reaches Constantinople, he does his duties, but later he mysteriously falls asleep, and when he wakes up he is metamorphosed into a woman. His biological identity is changed from a male to a female. That is why this novel is very controversial. It has some kind of transgender identity, you may say, ठीक है, or third gender, you may also say. So he mysteriously falls asleep and a man is getting transformed into a woman. Orlando is transformed into a woman. Now later she marries a sea captain, Bonthrop. She here means Orlando, as he is now a lady. Okay, so she marries a sea captain, Bonthrop, and later he means Bonthrop publishes her poem, The Oak Tree, much later. And very, very interestingly, the novel ends on Thursday, October 11, 1928, midnight, the day it was published. So जिस दिन publish हुआ उसी दिन novel complete हुआ था लिखना. That is very interesting. So it ends on midnight of October 11, midnight of October 1928, and that particular day it was published. So that is about Orlando, a biography. It is an experimental novel, also some kind of controversy, because this changing of gender इसके ऊपर controversies आए थे. इसको ban, मतलब syllabus में इसको ban कर दिया गया था, ठीक है, but later the ban was lifted. So that is the story of Orlando. ठीक है, तो इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि in which novel of Virginia Woolf we find a man is getting transformed into a woman. So remember, that is Orlando, a biography. Moving on to next work, A Room of One's Own. Very important work. I hope you have also read that, because it's a very important feminist tract after Vindication by Mary Wollstonecraft. So A Room of One's Own, published in 1929, and this is not a novel, it is actually an extended essay written by Virginia Woolf, and very importantly it is considered as Feminist Bible or Bible of Feminism. तो अर्लीस्ट फेमिनिस्ट ट्रैक्ट माना जाता है विंडिकेशन ऑफ द राइट्स ऑफ वुमेन बाय मेरी वोllstonecraft, एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रैक्ट और दिस पर्टिकुलर एसे, A Room of One's Own, that is considered as feminist Bible. Yes. So basically it is an extended version of our lecture Women and Fiction delivered at Cambridge University. तो उस लेक्चर का ही एक एक्सटेंडेड वर्जन था दिस पर्टिकुलर एसे. Now what is Virginia Woolf trying to say here? A room of one's own. Now what does room mean? Room is a symbol obviously here, and Virginia Woolf is saying that a woman must have a room and she must be economically independent if she wants to write. Now what does room mean in general? अगर आप ऐसे ही देखो तो रूम का क्या मीनिंग है? रूम मीन्स कंफर्टेबल शेल्टर. Okay, comfortable shelter. Room means privacy, right? Room means something very dear to you. Your room is very dear to you. You always try to decorate your room. right? And room also means some kind of independence, because रूम एक ऐसा जगह है विच इज वेरी प्राइवेट, एंड रूम में, अपने रूम में आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो, ठीक है? यू व्हेन यू आर इनसाइड योर ओन रूम, योर ओन स्टडी रूम, और मे बी एनी काइंड ऑफ रूम, सो यू आर इंडिपेंडेंट. That is the symbol of room. Now, a room of one's own, Virginia Woolf is trying to say that women must have that room, and room also gives specific identity to a person, or rather room is associated with the identity of a person. तो हम रूम को इसी नाम से जानते हैं कि ये इस पर्सन का रूम है. दिस इज द रूम ऑफ ए एंड दिस इज द रूम ऑफ बी, राइट? तो एक अपने रूम के ऊपर अपना एक अलग सा अधिकार होता है, right? Those of you who have stayed in hostel, you can also feel that your room means that place is completely yours. So that is the symbol of room. Now, what does Virginia Woolf mean by a room of one's own? Virginia Woolf saying from feminist point of view that women must have that kind of room inside patriarchal society. Women must be given some privacy. Women must be given comfort. Women must be given a place which is very dear to her, or which is very dear to them. Okay? And finally, women must be independent. So basically, Woolf is talking about economical independence. By economical independence for all women. All women should be economically independent if she wants to write. And writing also is a very private thing or very solitary thing which you need to do in your room. So writing or becoming a writer is also associated with your own privacy, your own comfort. Okay? The place where you are writing, all these things are associated with what kind of writing you can produce. So Woolf is trying to say that a woman must have a room, must have a privacy, must have a particular place where she can express herself fully, where she should not follow any kind of rules or regulations. She is completely free, and that freedom can only be achieved through economical independence. Yes, a place of comfort and security. So Woolf is trying to say that. Now, what is the plot of this essay? अगर हम समरी की बात करें तो क्या है? मेन कैरेक्टर्स नेम इज मेरी बीटॉन. कुछ कुछ जगह में मेरी सीटॉन भी आपको लगेगा, ठीक है? मेरी बीटॉन और मेरी सीटॉन. द नेम इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, एंड द कैरेक्टर हरसेल्फ से दैट कॉल मी मेरी बीटन और मेरी सीटन, दैट डजंट मैटर टू मी, ऐसे करके एक लाइन था. तो इसका मीनिंग क्या है? मेरी बीटॉन और मेरी सीटॉन जो भी हो, मेन थिंग इज शी इज अ वुमन. तो शी इज एवरी वुमन, जैसे हमने बताया था एवरी मैन, ठीक है? इन द मोरालिटी प्ले एवरी मैन ऑल्सो वी डोंट गेट एनी नेम फॉर एनी कैरेक्टर. सो एवरी मैन मीन्स एवरी मैन, दैट इज यूनिवर्सल, दैट कैन बी एनी मैन. सो सिमिलरली मेरी बीटॉन और मेरी सीटॉन जो भी उसका नाम है, बट फाइनली एंड at last she is a woman. So his identity as a woman must be respected. That is what she is trying to say. So Mary Beaton gets an invitation from Oxbridge College. This is a fictional name combining with Oxford and Cambridge. ठीक है? ऑक्सफोर्ड एंड कैम्ब्रिज को मिलाकर ये एक नया नेम वर्जीनिया वुल्फ अपने खुद ने ये बनाया था, ऑक्सब्रिज कॉलेज. दैट देयर इज नो सच कॉलेज. So she gets an invitation from Oxbridge College to deliver a lecture on women in fiction, the portrayal of women characters in fiction. That is the topic of Mary Beaton's lecture. Now, when Mary Beaton is entering into the college, she is stopped because she is a woman. So she has no permission to enter through the main gate of that college, which is purely preserved for the masculine authority. Okay, later she is allowed to stay in a student bed and is given vile meal. So she is not respected at all, though she is invited as a guest lecturer to deliver a lecture at this college. Still, she is not respected. She is allowed to stay in a student bed. That is also very unhygienic, and she is given unhygienic meal. She is again prohibited to go to the libraries because it is believed that libraries are places for intellectuals, and women are no intellectuals. Women have no intelligence. That is why libraries can only be visited by men. So that kind of misogynist society, Mary Beaton is facing. Now, finally, Woolf invents a character called Judith Shakespeare. ये एक अलग सा कैरेक्टर है, वुल्फ का अपना इन्वेंशन है. Judith Shakespeare is Shakespeare's sister who is deprived of every benefit. So Virginia Woolf is imagining that we all talk about William Shakespeare so prominently, but if William Shakespeare has a sister, if he had a sister, Judith Shakespeare, could she be equally read or equally prioritized like her brother William Shakespeare? No. We'll be saying that no. We always neglect women writers in literature, that is the trend also. ठीक है, तो ये भी आपने देखा होगा. We always discuss Robert Browning very prominently. We read poems of Robert Browning, but how many of us have studied Elizabeth Barrett Browning in detail? No, because Elizabeth Barrett Browning का reference भी आपको बहुत कम मिलेगा. Just we know the names of some poems and all these things, but we have studied so many poems of Robert Browning, and Elizabeth Barrett Browning is discussed only as the wife of Robert Browning. So Woolf is trying to saying the same thing, that Judith Shakespeare, if Shakespeare had a sister named Judith Shakespeare, and if she had the same potentiality or maybe more potentiality than her brother, still she should not be discussed, or she would not be discussed in society so much like William Shakespeare, only because she is a female, she is a woman. Okay, now she establishes the viewpoint, she means Virginia Woolf, that women are presented as man's other, a tailless man's cat, subversive and oppressive position of them. So this particular term was coined by Virginia Woolf, that is Manx cat. So Manx cat, Virginia Woolf is referring that a cat who has lost its tail. So that means that that particular cat is considered very odd, right? Very odd, and we often ridicule this particular structure. If a cat has lost its tail, then it has lost its whole beauty. So Virginia Woolf is inventing this term Manx cat, and she is trying to say that women are like this Manx cat, tailless cat, so the man's other. So they are considered as something odd, they are considered something different and something inferior to man, very subversive and oppressive position. Okay, yes. Now, education is also reserved for males, and for women, it means to cross the boundaries. That is why when Mary Beaton is trying to enter into a college, she is prohibited. When she is trying to enter into libraries, she is prohibited. Why? Because education is only the department of male, not of female. Woolf is criticizing all this misogynist attitude in this particular essay, A Room of One. So it's a beautiful essay. You can definitely read the text. ओके तो इसी के साथ एसोसिएटेड एक फेमिनिस्ट वर्क आते हैं, दैट इज थ्री गिनीज पब्लिश्ड इन 1938. नाउ थ्री गिनीज इज कंसीडर्ड Three Guineas is considered as a sequel to A Room of One's Own, and that is considered as a novel essay. So it is an essay, but it is structured like a novel. Now the opening line, yes, not the true self, but the other of man. That is also what Simone de Beauvoir has already said, that women are man's other. Women, the identity of women or the identity of gender, which is very different and very इंटरेस्टिंग इन केस ऑफ वुमेन. ठीक है, जो जूडिथ बटलर ने भी कहा था, जेंडर इज सोशली कंस्ट्रक्टेड. Yes, absolutely powerful essay, very beautifully written. So this particular work, Three Guineas, it is considered as a sequel to A Room of One's Own, and this is the opening line. 3 years is a long time to leave a letter unanswered. तो याद रखना ये opening line है. 3 years is a long time to leave a letter unanswered, opening line. Basically, it is talking about the practices of Victorian patriarchal system, same like A Room of One's Own. And Virginia Woolf here is trying to pose some kind of question. So basically, it is written in the form of dialogue with a man. A conversation चल रहा है between a man and Woolf, Virginia Woolf, and the man asks Woolf 3 questions. तो 3 question की यहाँ पर बताया गया है. इस question याद रखना, ये question में आ सकता है कि what are the questions asked in Three Guineas? How war could be prevented? That is the first question. Second question is, why is there little government funding for female education? Very interesting. And then, why are the women prohibited to do professional work? Very true. So these are the 3 questions asked by the man, and Woolf is trying to give the answer. So that is the plot of Three Guineas. Yes, right. Gender is not a biological construct but a social one. Judith Butler has said this. Now, moving on to next novel, The Waves, published in 1931. The Waves, published in 1931. Now, this particular novel is actually a soliloquies, a collection of soliloquies spoken by 6 characters. ये बहुत ही complex novel है, ठीक है? That is why waves, which means waves of soliloquies. Basically, it is structured as internal monologues. That is why very complex internal monologue. ठीक है, एंड इट इज डिस्क्राइब्ड एज ए प्रोज पोएम. तो कौन कौन से कैरेक्टर है बस आप वो ध्यान रखना. कैरेक्टर में फर्स्ट नेम आते हैं बर्नार्ड, हु इज द स्टोरी टेलर, एंड एक एक कैरेक्टर एक एक राइटर के ऊपर मॉडल है. तो इसमें से यही इंपॉर्टेंट है, आपको याद रखना है. सो द फर्स्ट कैरेक्टर इज बर्नार्ड, हु इज अ स्टोरी टेलर, एंड हिज कैरेक्टर इज मॉडल्ड ऑन E.M. फॉस्टर. नंबर 1. देन आते हैं लुई. लुई इज एन आउटसाइडर लॉन्गिंग फॉर सक्सेस. This character is modeled on T.S. Eliot. Okay. Louis is an outsider who is modeled on T.S. Eliot. Next character है Neville. Neville is a very interesting character who always looks for men. Man. Neville waits for man who will become objects of his temporary love. So homosexual man. And this character is modeled on Lytton Strachey. Number 3. Then आते हैं Jimmy. Jimmy is a socialite person believing in socialism. His character is modeled on Mary Hutchinson, Virginia Woolf's friend, Mary Hutchinson. Okay. Next character is Susan. Susan prefers the countryside and feels thrilled about motherhood. Susan is that kind of character. She fancies about motherhood, and Susan's character is modeled on Vanessa Bell. Vanessa Bell कौन है मैंने बताया था. Vanessa Bell is actually sister of Virginia Woolf. Okay. Yes. So Susan is modeled on Vanessa Bell. Now another character is Rhoda. Rhoda is perplexed with anxiety and depression, and this character is modeled on Woolf herself. Number 6. She loves solitude and she echoes Shelley's poem The Question. तो ये याद रखना कि P.B. Shelley का कौन सी poem Virginia Woolf ने रेफर किया है in her novels. That is The Question. So Rhoda is a character modeled on Woolf herself. So these are the 6 characters whose point of views are expressed in the waves, and it has multiple perspectives, multiple narration, and also it is structured in form of internal monologue. That is why it becomes very complex. Yes, woman is not born but becomes, Simone de Beauvoir said, right? As Eliot was born in America. Yes, woman is not born but made. Yes, it is not body but the mindset that makes a woman, right, Shravani? Absolutely. So you all know all these basic ideas of feminism that is echoed in a room of one song. Okay, so coming back to the waves, that is about the waves. उसके बाद क्या है? उसके बाद एक और कैरेक्टर है, ठीक है, जो कि डायरेक्टली मेंशन नहीं है. मैंने तो 6 कैरेक्टर बता दिया है, बट अनदर कैरेक्टर इज आल्सो मेंशन्ड, पर्सिवल. पर्सिवल डाइज मिडवे थ्रू द नॉवेल. बीच में ही डेथ हो जाते हैं ड्यूरिंग एन इंपीरियलिस्ट क्वेस्ट इन इंडिया, एंड द कैरेक्टर ऑफ पर्सिवल इज मॉडल्ड ऑन थोबी स्टीफन. Who was Thoby Stephen? Woolf's brother. And remember, I have told you in the previous class that after the death of her brother Thoby Stephen, Woolf has faced a nervous breakdown. एक mental trauma उसके अंदर चला था. And this character Percival also dies during war. Okay, तो एक autobiographical touch है. Very interestingly, he is never seen in the novel. Other characters describe and reflect on his life. So he is present in absence, right? So he is never seen in the novel directly, but other characters talk about his life. Other characters reflect on his life. Yes. Okay, चलो. Next work पे आते हैं, the last work of today's class, that is Moments of Being, published in 1972. Moments of Being. Now this is very interesting. It is actually a collection of 5 autobiographical essays. It was published posthumously, एंड सेकेंड एडिशन इसका पब्लिश हुआ था 1985 में, फर्स्ट एडिशन 1972, सेकेंड एडिशन 1985. एंड दीज आर द 5 essays, बस आप टाइटल याद रखना, रेमिनिसेंसेस, अ स्केच ऑफ द पास्ट, 22 हाइड पार्क गेट, ओल्ड ब्लूम्सबेरी एंड एम आई अ स्नॉब. These are the 5 essays included in that collection. Yes, like the concept of trace in deconstruction, right? So that is about moments of being. It is just a collection of 5 essays. ओके तो ये उनके मेजर वर्क्स था. अदर वर्क्स की लिस्ट में क्या है? दिस हैज आल्सो बीन आस्क्ड इन नेट एग्जाम. इट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट अ बायोग्राफी, फ्लश, a biography published in 1933, and it is very interestingly talking about the pet dog of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. ठीक है, तो ये याद रखना. नेक्स्ट नॉवेल आते हैं बिटवीन द एक्ट्स, पब्लिश्ड इन 1941, which were her last novel, published posthumously. मॉडर्न फिक्शन, ये भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एसे है. ठीक है, नाउ और क्या क्या वर्क है? प्रोफेशंस फॉर वीमेन, दैट इज अ स्पीच डिलीवर्ड बिफोर नेशनल सोसाइटी फॉर वीमेन सर्विस ऑन जनवरी 1931. दीज आर ऑल फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन, यू जस्ट नीड टू रिमेंबर. एंड ये एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, दिस इज एन ऑफ्ट कोटेड लाइन, ऑन और अबाउट दिसंबर 1910 ह्यूमन नेचर चेंज्ड. तो ये लाइन कौन सी एसे से लिया गया है? दैट इज फ्रॉम मिस्टर बेनेट एंड मिसेस ब्राउन, पब्लिश्ड इन 1923. कभी कभी इसमें ह्यूमन कैरेक्टर भी कहा जाता है. ठीक है, सो ऑन और अबाउट दिसंबर 1910 ह्यूमन नेचर और ह्यूमन कैरेक्टर चेंज. वेरी फेमस कोट एसोसिएटेड विथ मॉडर्निज्म, टॉकिंग अबाउट द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन इन मॉडर्निज्म. Okay, so that particular line is there in this particular essay, Mr. Bennett and Mrs. Brown, published in 1923. Okay, yes, tells about modernism. Okay, so that is about Virginia Woolf. I hope I have summed up the novels in detail. So thank you all for joining. जरूर आप इन नॉवेल को इन डिटेल पढ़ना. I have just given a blueprint what to read, but please read on your own. जो भी बुक्स आपके पास है उसमें से वर्जीनिया वुल्फ को इन डिटेल पढ़ना. Very important modern novelist, and you should not skip her. Okay, so that is the end of today's class. Thank you all for joining. This is the link of my Telegram channel. Those of you who have not joined yet, please join to get notification of all important classes. And these are the timings of the classes. So tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. we will talk about another important modern novelist, that is George Orwell. Some of you have requested me to make a video on George Orwell. So tomorrow we will start George Orwell, and Orwell के ऊपर भी I will take 2 classes to finish his novels. Okay. So thank you all. Bye bye everyone. Good night. See you all tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.